Close your eyes if you feel comfortable. One hand to your chest, one hand to your belly. And let's drop in quickly today. Neck long. Jaw relaxed. Tongue floating to the roof of your mouth. Let your thoughts kind of settle down. You can actually picture your thoughts like the little sand in pieces of sand in a sand timer. And very often we think of meditation and mindfulness as sort of getting rid of our thoughts. I want to encourage you to consider another way, that instead of getting rid of your thoughts and emptying your mind, you can replace the thought with just a sense of spaciousness, and you can replace the thought with increased internal awareness. We'll turn our attention in that internal awareness way to the right sitting bone and the left sitting bone. Do they feel even in the ground? Do your ears feel like they're over the shoulders, shoulders over the pelvis? Is your breath easy? Is your breath in and out through the nose, through the mouth? And can you feel your ribs moving, as well as your jaw relaxing, belly moving with breath? And without opening your eyes, start to roll your shoulders a little bit. You can roll them up, back, and down. And then we can do the opposite, back, up, and forward. Get your shoulders as high as possible up to the ears, and just notice if there's any tension there, if your neck can still freely move. And relax, and still keeping your eyes closed. Notice what happens as your left ear goes to your left shoulder. Right ear to the right shoulder. And then from center, dropping your chin down to your chest. Try not to round the rest of your spine. Just notice any sense of pulling, tugging, the chin up to the sky. Notice any sensation that might come up in the neck, maybe a little stretch in the front, a feeling of compression in the back. Is it more pronounced on the right versus the left? And then finally, come back to center and start to open your eyes. Big breath in, turn your chin all the way to the right, and just notice what the end of that rotation feels like. Inhale, center, turn your chin all the way to the left. Try to get the chin over the shoulder. A lot of times once you get partway there, or most of the way there, you start to lean into it a little. Try to really get the chin all the way there, not the side of the head. And then back to center. We're gonna do that in a slightly different way. So arms cross over your chest, spin to the right as far as you can go. And you can now release your hands. So my hands are just sort of parking, like parking brakes. They're not really doing a whole lot unless it's asked of them. And then I'm going to turn my chin the other direction. So chest to the right, chin to the left. What does that bring up for you? Inhale, chin to center, shoulders to center, cross your arms over the chest, spin to the other direction. Release the hands like just that emergency brake, and then chin stays neutral and turns. How does that feel? So we're sort of getting a lay of the land of our neck and shoulders. And right back to center. And I'm going to move the block because it's not quite as comfortable as the blanket. And I suggest you do the same. So here we're going to start to do a little cat and cow and seated, but in a fully three-dimensional way. So go ahead and stir the peanut butter jar with your spine, with your navel. Moving clockwise and counterclockwise. And if you feel comfortable, go ahead and switch the leg that is in front. We'll do one more circle each direction. And I want you to really let your chin get into it this time. So drop your chin as you go back, as your chest goes forward, kind of lift the chin, lift the heart, and then move in the other direction, and then really drop the chin as you go back. Let the head be kind of going along with the rest of the spine. Find your way to neutral. Walk your right hand out to the side, reach your left arm out, and flip your palm up. Sweep the arm up towards the sky like you've got a helium balloon. So you're going to feel your shoulder blade actually do a lot more movement than it typically does in a typical yoga class because we don't do a whole lot of reaching. So I want you to feel lots of reaching, shoulder blades really coming around the side, almost flying off your rib cage, and then arm by the ear. Move your head and neck a little bit. Bend through the right elbow a little bit and keep the reaching going so that you can hang out here and breathe into the sides of your ribs. So right over here. Inhale up. Let's take it to the other side. At some point, I actually switched the leg that was in front. I don't know if you guys noticed. So if you haven't switched, go ahead and switch. First up, arm reaching to the sky feels like it's carrying a helium balloon, like a really big, strong one, and it's raising you up off the ground, and then you're going to go over. Palm is facing down here. Left elbow is now bending a little bit, and then hold it, breath into the side of the ribs, top side. Inhale and rise up. All shoulder blades back, palms facing forward. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another. Full inhale and then full exhale, round until your shoulder blades come around the sides of your ribs. Move a little side to side. And then one last thing here in seated. Arms to the back of the head, hands to the back of the head. Chin stays down a little bit. We're going to start to learn the chin tuck. So head pushes into hands. Ribs drop down, both sides sitting bones even. Keep the back of the neck long, and you might free up one hand to touch the front of the neck. The very front muscles should feel pretty soft, and also your low back muscles should still feel pretty soft here. Switch the hands. So you're not trying to push like 100%. Jaws relaxed, front of the neck is relaxed, but the deep neck flexor stabilizing muscles are really engaged. Low back is not trying to take over for the neck. And then we release. Come on to hands and knees. Cushion your knees as needed. I'm going to use the blanket just to show you. And spread your fingers wide. Move a little side to side here. And as your ribs move to your right, please bring your left ear closer to your left hip. As you inhale through center, exhale other side, right ear to right hip. Keep moving with breath. You can go more slowly than me or more quickly than me. And then let's lower down to the forearms. So on your forearms, start to round your spine, lean in and tap the back of your head to your hands, to the base of your thumbs. So you're gonna lean in, tap the back of your head, base of thumbs. As you come back, sag between your shoulder blades. Two more, just like this. And last one. Stay really firm, like you're pushing your forearms down into the floor, almost like you're chopping your forearms down into the floor. And then I invite you to come up onto your left fingertips off to the side. Back of the neck long. Imagine you're still doing that shin tuck, head into hands. And you're gonna reach your left arm out to the side, shoulder height or a little higher. Tap it down to the floor or close to the floor. Chin stays tucked, up and down. Arm that's pushing into the floor is still really working. Two more after this. So the arm that's stabilizing me is actually starting to get a little bit shaky. I did some of this earlier today, and so I am feeling that. That's what I hope you guys feel too when you are really, really working hard. Let's switch sides. And go ahead and start on your forearms, both forearms evenly. Back of the neck long, come up onto your right fingertips, reach your right hand out to the side. Chin is tucked, back of the hand towards the sky. We're moving and initiating this movement from the shoulder blade. So shoulder blade gets a little closer to the spine. If you feel that your arm is drifting downward towards your hip or the shoulder blade is drifting up, then go ahead and just reset shoulder blade back. We've got two more. And then release, shake it out a little bit. Walk your elbows out, legs back to come into Sphinx pose. And by the way, let your hips, or feet rather, be kind of separated from one another. You can shake it out a little bit, look over one shoulder, and then look over the other shoulder. So we're getting good mobility in the upper back. Coming back through to center, drop your chin again towards your chest, but keep your chest lifted. So I want you to press your pelvis into the floor. Float your arms off the floor, back of the neck long, and start to reach one arm and then the other. Bruce, if you're watching this, if you're still going along, I want you to rest your forehead down on the floor for this one, okay? So anybody who is avoiding back bends for any reason, you don't have to go into the back bend portion of this. You can just work on stabilizing the upper back by resting your forehead down a little bit more. Still keep your glutes active though, pushing your pelvis into the floor. And then root your hands, optional back bend. Everybody find your way to table. And then from table, just rock back into this almost puppy stretch. So when I went into puppy stretch, I learned forehead on the floor, head, shoulders, chest sink down. Instead of doing that, we're gonna do this hybrid between down dog and child's pose. Active arms, straight elbows. Try to keep your spine pretty neutral. For me, it's an effort of pulling in my lowest ribs. And then as you reach back, toes are curled under, rise up to down dog and really, really push the floor away. Shake out your head a bit, shake your tail a little bit, and then round yourself to shift forward to plank, top of a push-up. You want to feel your glutes is squeezing and engaging here. You want to feel a little bit of energy of rounding in your upper back. Lower down to your knees, and then straighten one leg back. push the ground away with your arms, float the leg, and this is the funny thing. So if you lifted your right leg, you're gonna come up onto your right fingertips. You're gonna keep everything neutral, plank in the body, maybe float your right hand off the floor. Now, if you can keep it floating, arm by the ear, optional up and around the rainbow, lots of stability happening in your shoulder that is still on the ground, big circles here, and lots of stabilizing, just kind of automatic stabilizing in your core and in your hips. Root this leg down, shift over to the other side. So we're still in table on the hand and leg that's still around the floor. And you want to make sure that you're not like on, well, you could do this if you want to, if you're capable of it. But if you're feeling really wobbly here, make sure that your hand, knee, and back foot, the ones that are still on the ground, are not all in a straight line. If you're a little bit off to the side, a little bit triangulated, a little bit like a tripod, you'll actually be much better off here. So first the leg lifts up, lowest ribs snuggle in, breath is easy, arm optionally might lift up by the ear, and then if that works for you, you can do these big circles here, ribs stay connected, glutes active, as if you didn't know where they were. And also feel free just to keep the fingertips to the floor and walk back and forth if you need to do that. So either way, whatever you do, lots of stability, work in progress. Back of the neck long, root the hands, curl the toes, rise up, downward facing dog. Push the ground away so much that your shoulder blades feel like they're like creating earmuffs. And notice that even then, you can still move your head, you can still shake it out quite a bit. Bend just one knee and then the other a couple of times so you get that nice rib mobility in the upper back. And then settle down and rise up to kneeling position. Feel free to cushion your knees here. Hands to the hips. Shift your weight over to your left leg. Stay like really aligned as much as you can here. So the moment we get into kneeling, this is a big tendency and a big generalization, but we start to realize how tight the front of our hips are thanks to chairs. So a sense of heaviness through the tailbone, a sense of front hip points up, ribs down. Start to fill in your low back, then shift over to your left leg. Right leg slowly shifts forward. The slower you can do that, the more stable your core and your pelvis is on the standing leg. And you're going to bring your left hand to your right leg. Right arm is free. Reach it forward. Inhale, rise, find that helium balloon, open and down. Connect to breath. Keep the arm behind you at the next round, and then just look back and slowly look forward. Notice any tension in the head, neck. By the way, if you feel anything zingy, nerve-like in the arm, just make a soft fist and maybe even softly bend your elbow. Any kind of zingy stuff would be considered neural tension. And it's easy to provoke that in these positions. Hand to your hip, roll your shoulders up, back, and down, and then orient yourself forward, both hands to your front knee. Rise your back knee up, squeeze shoulder blades, hands to the back of the head. Do go into a back bend, also engaging your deep neck flexors. Exhale, hands to the floor, step back, find plank. Hold it in plank, glutes squeeze, upper body active. Lower down, all the way to the ground, squeezing your shoulder blades back, activating into the back bend or upper body strengthening action that would feel good to you. So I'm doing both arms at the same time. Right now, if you can't see, squeezing shoulder blades down by your sides and then reaching up by the ears. When you're ready, root your hands by your ribs. Find your way to table and then downward facing dog for 3 breaths. Pushing the floor away. Optional little tilting of your pelvis side to side so you can really feel how the weight distributes between the right and the left. Lower to your knees. Cushion is needed. Find your kneeling. Connect, stabilize. Shift your weight over to the other leg. So comparing and contrasting. Take your time. Step your newly freed leg in front of you. I'm going to turn around so I don't have my back to you. And if you've got your left leg forward now, please bring your right hand onto that left leg. Free arm, left arm is going to go forward, up, helium balloon, back, and down. Remember, as you go back, if you feel any of that neural tension, that sort of zingy, carpal tunnel-like stuff, you're going to back off of it by bending your elbow or softening your fist. Feel the glutes engage of your standing leg. I recommend moving your head and neck with the arm, keeping your gaze almost at that hand. And the next time your arm reaches back behind you, really squeeze shoulder blade to spine, look back and forward and back and forward. Couple more. Both hands to your front knee. Curl back toes under, rise up, sweep the arms, hands to the back of the head, push the head into the hands, right? So if you're avoiding the back bend, your back knee is bent. Ribs in. And then from this gorgeous lunge, root your hands down, set yourself up into that proper plank, right? So nice strong plank, squeeze the glutes around the upper back. Move through. Connect to your back body in whatever you choose as cobra, locust, back bend, whatever you got here, right? So you can keep it static, holding, or you can keep it dynamic, reaching. One or both arms at the same time. Root hands, scoop abdomen, find table, and then downward facing dog. Shake out your head. Nod it up and down. Allow all of that to be free. And then let's actually walk the hands back towards the feet and ankles. Purposeful bend in your knees. This allows your spine to get a little bit more release. Don't forget that any tension around your neck and shoulders is inevitably going to be related to the rest of your spine. So right here, imagine your head like a piece of fruit, and you're just shaking it out. You're just letting that fruit dangle from the tree. You can also jostle with the legs by just rocking a little, like I'm trying to attempt to do right here. And of course, catch opposite elbow. Sway like an elephant trunk side to side. Release and go ahead and stand vertebra by vertebra, rising up. Allowing the head to be the last thing that rises. Inhale up. Exhale, arms into a W shape. Inhale up. Exhale, arms into field post or W shape. So just getting that shoulder scapular mobility that we all so desperately need. Good, last one. Back of the mat still. Chin tucks towards your chest. slide your hand down your legs, looking for symmetry the whole way down. All the way down. Shake it out. And then walk yourself right back out, downward facing dog. Shift forward, lower to your knees. You can do this next move in a kind of a long table shape, or you can do it in plank. You're gonna push down through one arm, tap the opposite shoulder. Here's what it looks like in plank. And the idea, in theory, is that we're moving only as much as we need to. So there's gonna be a little bit of movement, inevitably, but we're minimizing it. Last one, each side. Lower down to the knees. Optional vinyasa, optional child's pose. Connecting to breath and letting that lead you. And then from downward facing dog, if you're in down dog, please lower your knees to the ground. From child's pose, please rise up to a seated position. And feel free to have your block between your feet here. There's no need to put pressure on your knees if it just doesn't feel good to you, right? Draw both shoulder blades to your ears. Move your head a little bit left and right. Back to center and relax. Draw the shoulder blades up and then just drop one of them down and then the other. And one and then the other. And so we're just working on inviting the fullest rainbow spectrum of movement in our shoulder blades, because what can very often happen is for people who come from a ballet background or a yoga background where you may have been cued again and again incessantly to pull your shoulder blades away from the ears, you can actually lose some of this articulation ability. And sometimes this is all we need to get things a little bit better and better. We're going to talk about twisting now and what twisting has to do with really being comfortable in our necks and our shoulders. So you can do a variety of seated positions for twists, but we're going to have the right foot forward. From here, we'll try a few different things. Hands to the back of the head. Press the head lightly into the hands. Shin drops down. That low back, by the way, is soft here, and if you need to, you can actually put your hand back there and just see. We're first going to turn in the direction of the lifted knee, right? Notice how far you go. It might be 30 degrees, it might be 40 degrees. Chances are very good you're not getting to 90 degrees of rotation here with your sternum, like the center of your chest, right? So just imagine there's a little flashlight sticking out. How far does that go? And then compare that to what we very often do in class, which is we sort of leverage our upper back. How far can the muscles intrinsic to the upper back take you? Really, really important to know the difference, because anywhere beyond this is just passive range of motion, and it's not going to help you day to day, and it could even cause destabilization of all the lovely joints in our upper back, neck, shoulders. So just notice that. Take it back to center, and we're going to spin to the other side. So turn in the other direction. You may have also heard cues over the years about how to keep your pelvis really stable in twists, but I want you to notice that it's quite natural for your pelvis to eventually go along for the ride a little bit. Even here, I'm not getting past 45 degrees, even though I have a lot more freedom to move, even though my pelvis is moving. There's a natural limit to how much these muscles are gonna let me twist, as opposed to my arm, which could take me a lot further. Come back through to center and we'll switch sides. Hands to the back of the head, and they're really, it's the truth serum, right? It's like, where does our body have the capability of taking itself, as opposed to, I know it's still the body, but like another limb leveraging and spinning. So breathe into it. You might find on your exhale you can take it a little bit deeper, but know that the goal is not depth, but like really feeling and engaging with all of our natural capacity to movement, not trying to push past our natural capacity. Spin to the other side. Notice where your imaginary headlamp on your chest is pointing, and just kind of take stock, like this is your honest truth, right? How does it compare to the other side? Come back through to center, and then both legs down, cross-legged or kneeling as I am. Walk it out to side bend. Take the side bend into a little bit of a forward fold, rounding a tiny bit through the upper back, reaching the arm 45 degrees forward. Breathing into the upper back body. Come back, arm by your ear. Float it up, other side. Reach, reach, connect to breath. Exhale, move deeper into this little rounding. Arm 45 degrees forward. Full breath into the upper back. And reach, reach, and rise. Come up out of your seated position, downward facing dog. Make it a short down dog. Separate your feet. Walk your hands perhaps a little closer to one another if that doesn't bother your shoulders. We're going to reach right hand to left shin and left hand to right shin. Right to left, left to right. With the hand that's on the floor, really push the ground away. And then we're going to do a little bit of a hold, right? What is it to not just tap, but also reach through, getting the obliques and the shoulder to coordinate with one another. Switch sides. And then again, instead of tapping, reach underneath like you're really reaching for a cookie. Hold it. Strong, engaged line from the wrist to your hips. And release and lower down. Pivot on your right knee. And if you're mirroring me, you can do the opposite. So pivot on your left knee in that case. Right leg straightens out. Sole of the foot in back is rooted to the floor, and then rise your right arm to the sky. So you're in a knee down side plank. Sweep the arm by the ear, and then exhale and round it forward 45 degrees. Arm by the ear again, rise it up. Arm by the ear and round it forward. Hips can go back a little. Sweep and lift. Arm and reach. And then root your hands. Optional vinyasa. Connect. Heart reaches. Belly engages. Toes tuck. Active child's pose. Downward facing dog. So the arms are super strongly reaching here. And we're just going to do a little something for the low back. So bring your toes together like you're going into chair pose, and then pivot your knees to the right and pivot your knees to the left. This should feel like you're tractioning the right side waist and then the left side waist. And then as a bonus, you can actually, the foot that's sort of being dragged along, feel those toes get spread out and feel the obliques kind of assisting with all of this. Good. Lower down into your table pose again. Pivot this arm on your right knee, left leg back, back sole of the foot fully to the ground. Right arm to, or left arm to the air, arm by the ear, and then take it forward 45 degrees. And back, and up, and ear, and forward, and rounding. And by the ear, and up. And the last one, as your hips go back a little bit, just round, reach, connect. All hands down. And then shift your weight a little side to side. Let's talk about threading the needle. So typically threading the needle, we would go down, we would push into the hand that's on the floor. Sprinkler hybrid. Okay, so hand to the back of the head. Separate your knees. Let your pelvis go along for the ride as you look up under the arm. And then elbow taps to the floor. Look up, elbow taps. Try to keep the chin tucked to your chest. Neck gently engaged by pressing the head into the hand and the hand into the head. We're going to switch sides. Tap and up and tap and up and tap and up and tap and up. Root your hands, curl the toes, beam the hips, engage in your downward facing dog. Feet can stay apart. Lengthen your down dog. Rise to your tippy toes. Shift a little forward and round your spine as your toes turn over to one side for a side plank here. A little bit of a rainbow shape, totally fine with the body, side bend. And then down dog. Toes turn other direction, shift it forward, little bit of a rainbow shape, strong energy through the arm. And of course, you're always welcome to put your knee down to the floor. Let's do that one more time each side. So turn your toes, pivot, shift, optional knee down to the floor, or leg up, side, optional knee down, or up. For staggered leg, side plank. Again, take a child's pose as needed, or if you're feeling feisty and vigorous, one more vinyasa. If you're in down dog and you don't mind, please put your knees down to the floor. And if you're in child's pose, just shift forward. We're going to lower down onto our forearms. Of course, you can do this from down dog as well. Pinky side of the forearms and the wrists chop into the floor a little bit. Round your upper back just a little bit. Curl your toes. And then the important thing to remember for dolphin pose, which is where we're going, is that your head is off the floor, kind of like actually lifted a little bit away from the floor. Hips go high, and you're here in this really lengthened down dog, driving the elbows down. Head should be able to spin freely. That's how far it should be off the floor, shaking it out. Shift your hips a little right and left. Notice how that feels on your shoulders. And then relax. Cross at the shins. Rise up into seated. Roll back over the shins, rising up into seated. And then in front of you, and feel free to sit on a blanket, multiple blankets, etc. here. So we're going to hide something underneath of it, right? And then we're going to do the other side. For those of you feeling really athletic in this moment, wanting to work hard, where very little weight remains in that heel. We're going to add a little more. Arms cross over the chest, and as you root, find neutral, lift your left sitting bone, or sorry, that's your right, and then look over. Hip is off the ground. That's the direction you're twisting to. And then we're going to add a little reach. So reach and reach. There's some balance, there's some core. You feel your neck. You may not feel your neck, but your neck is moving through all the same movements and ranges of motion that your low back is moving in. And then come back to center, have a cross-legged seated position. And we'll again bring the hands to the back of the head. Chin down, head pushes lightly into the hands. Ribs in, stay long, stay present. Full breath, connected, isometric. And we're going to slowly shift this into rounding the spine, aka cow pose. Breath into the back body. Please make sure that your arms are not pulling on your neck, but instead the head and neck muscles are pushing back into the hands a little bit. Inhale, shift forward and rise up, still pushing your head a little bit to your hands. Exhale, round. How long can you make the back of the neck through the gentle muscular action at the front? Inhale, up. And then add a little bit of a side bend. So moving over towards your left, chin stays tucked. Inhale, center. Shake it out as needed. Chin stays lightly tucked. Over to the other side. Back through to center. One more time each side with the side bend. Chin down, back of the neck long. And other side. Back through to center. Take the arms out to the side and just squeeze them back, shoulder blades back towards one another. Reach up, really let the reaching happen here. And connect your breath, side ribs. You should be feeling a little bit here. And then round and rise. So a little bit of cat and cow inside of this lean. I want, at the end of today's practice, I want your shoulders to feel free. I want your upper back to feel so good. I want your neck to feel so good. Come back through to center, take it to the other side, and round, and rise, and round, and rise, and round, and rise. Inhale up, arms out to this W shape. Squeeze shoulder blades towards one another, and slowly release. Shake it out a little bit. Let's look at the same movements we did in the beginning of this practice and see how it feels compared to the beginning. So what we're going to do is, again, grab, catch, abscond with whatever it is that you're going to sit on top of. So you want to kind of recreate that long spine, that long effortless spine. And then right ear to right shoulder. Left ear to left shoulder. What do you notice? Back through to center and then turn as far as you can. Over one shoulder. And turn as far as you can over the other shoulder. I'll say as you return to center that if you don't notice a big difference between the beginning of class and the end of class, that's fine. A lot of times issues that show up in the issues in our tissues in the neck are like long time there. You know, you have a long dysfunctional relationship with them potentially. Not everybody, of course, but like it's completely possible. And even injuries that you think were really no big deal that you just bounce back from, they can show up later in life. Like I flipped over my handlebars one time and landed here. And so you can imagine, heavy bag, force of my body weight, needed stitches on my jaw, like that did something to my neck, and it kind of caught up with me a little bit later in life. So we are doing this for nourishing long-term purposes, and you can always come back to these movements to feel better. Let's do a little bit of shoulder rolls, really snuggling the tops of the shoulders to the ears, maybe dropping one down and then the other. Try to keep your chin neutral. It's very tempting to lift it. And then a little bit with the totality of our arms, right? So really, really moving. Closing out our practice today, we've got the simple knee down twist. Closer your knees are to the chest, the more twist you'll feel in your upper back as opposed to your lower back. And the more you feel in your upper back, the more it will assist your neck. As you're ready, have your blanket roll under your knees if you're using that. And go ahead and stretch yourself out to Shavasana. If you'd like to join me in a seated meditation, you can do that as well. There's no right or wrong way to close your practice. And wherever you are, I want you to feel this alignment of the roof of your mouth over the respiratory diaphragm, over the pelvic floor. Allow the chin to drop a little towards the chest. Notice any increased sense of freedom in your shoulders, your upper back. Allow your eyelids to be heavy and your breath to be quiet. Notice any thoughts that pop up and invite them to drop down. Pieces of sand in a sand timer. As always, you're welcome to stay in your Shavasana or meditation for as long as you wish. You're also welcome to slowly deepen your breath. Invite a little bit of movement into your extremities. Be organic, feeling good. And if you're on your back, draw your knees to your chest, roll to your side, taking your time, pressing up to a comfortable seated position. You could put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. You can place your palms together. Truly from this time together, this time on the mat. And my intention as always is to allow for this freedom in your body using these therapeutic techniques aligned with yoga, so that We don't have to think so much about our bodies. We can just be. We can just drop in, feel good, and may that have ripple effects out into our spirit, our interactions with our community, and the ease with which we do our tasks in this world, our karmic duty, our dharma. Thank you all so extraordinarily much for being here with me. I appreciate you.